can start with the interview. Thanks so much again for your time and for sharing your experience in art collecting with us. Maybe for the beginning, you can start talking a little bit about yourself. How did you get into collecting art?
We've been collecting for quite a number of years. So north of 20, 25 years I've been collecting art.
Wow.
Long story short is that I've focused specifically on art from the African continent and art that is influenced by the experience of being African or living in Africa. So I've been doing that for close to 8-9 years now, exclusive focus, but I've been collecting for a lot longer than that.
Okay, so this means like you have like a collection which is like only focusing on, let's say, contemporary African, or and some collection beside, or do you see it like a whole collection?
Well, it started in one direction. I mean, it's evolving. It's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
The journey was different. Along the way, I, let's say, repositioned my interest. It was happening organically, and it has exclusively become a lot more focused on this particular. Call it aesthetic experience. I was raised in West Africa, so there is a relation there.
Yes.
I was raised in West Africa, in Nigeria specifically, and Lana is South African, so there's that connection. And growing up with art that is African,
yes.
There's an aesthetic that becomes part of who you are.
Yes. Okay.
And the past 8-9 years has become very much focused, I would say quite focused, and on that particular art.
And how did you? Does this experience, like growing up there in Africa, how does it, let's say, shape your eye, and how do you get some effect out of it? Do you maybe see it in a different way, or do you ever have maybe a more relation to it from your personal point of view? Or
I don't think it's. I think it happens in it. You don't think about it, but clearly, growing up with art, that a lot of it is almost made out of recycled material.
Yes.
It can be packaging, it can be clothing, it can be bottle caps, it can be wood.
Yes.
All the art there is, most of the art is made of found material.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you see a lot of that in our collection. A lot of our art is made of, actually has a lot of those elements.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of recyclability involved. It can be old keyboards, like in the word of Takadiwa,
yes.
or Elias Saime. Cloth, which is used by so many artists, whether it be Billy Zangewa, who uses silk,
Amazing.
or Konate, who uses traditional dancing, dancing, costume and cotton fabric, to Pascal Martin Taillou, who uses either crayons or glass or wood. You see, it's a common theme, I think. There's a common thread there. And clearly growing up in West Africa has affected my aesthetic.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's an amazing experience to see these pictures. And do you have any focus? I know we already had this question. Sorry. How do you choose your pieces of art? Is there any kind of strategy, or is there any category which you are focused on, and how do you decide on the pieces?
But I would say some of the artists that are bringing a more historical reference to the collection is a lot more studied. I mean, these are more important artists. There may be a few, they may be year 2000 artists. So in that case, there's a lot more academic research and discussion and debate that goes on. Example, let's say people like Chrysophili,
yes,
or El Salahi, or William Kendridge, people who are of, I think, another generation. There's a lot more research and discussion that goes into that. Now, as you go with younger artists, there's a lot more of an element of risk taking, discovering them.
Yes.
Both are very exciting. They have to touch us. I think I would say that in both cases, the art has to touch us, has to mean something to us, and definitely it's not. We like to think that it's a well thought out process, and through discussion and debates, we make a commitment, whether it be older art or very contemporary.
Okay. And where's your currently your focus? Do you have like more the established ones, or do you rather watching into emerging, like for example on Instagram, or how is your sources of finding the art?
The art is, I would say, it's not exclusive in one particular. So we go to the shows. So we'll go to 154. We'll go to Basel. We travel to Africa and we go visit artist studios or museums, collections. We try and travel a couple of times for art exclusively on the African continent. Galleries, of course, are very important. For us, it's a very important place to, even if we find an artist, has usually or almost exclusively, there must be a representation, a gallery representation. It's a filter. It's another filter. I mean, it's...
So do you like to let's say, to have this kind of filter before, like buying first or just from the gallery, or do you as well see artists straight which have no gallery? Do you like to buy them too or collect them?
Let me put it differently. All our artists have gallery representation.
Okay, that's an easy one. Okay.
It's a filter. I mean, there's so much art out there, and you need some sort of a filter, somebody who will have met the artists a lot more intimately, verified their commitment to art. Having a gallery representation shows some form of a commitment from the artist.
Yes.
We'll check their credentials and all that. So,
yes. We had this. I just saw the question here too. Since you are both collecting together, how do you choose your art as a couple, and do you share the same taste?
Hi, Adenike. I would say for the most part, we actually do have the same taste. There's always some discussion. There's been once or twice where, and they were probably because they were South African artists, who I absolutely put my foot down and said, we're not walking away from this particular piece because it spoke to me for some reason. But even then, it was an easy sell. It was just a matter of... But I would say we're very much on the same page. And it's... as the years have passed, it's become something we do more and more together. Originally, I was not doing it with Harry, I have to be honest. And somewhere along the line, it became part of my journey as well. But it's been just, knock on wood, so far, it's been a wonderful experience.
Oliver, what we can possibly do, if you don't object, is perhaps we can show you, we're in our home right now. And we live with our art, as I believe most of the collectors when you are. And perhaps we can go around and show you a few of the pieces.
This would be amazing. Absolutely.
Shall we do that?
Yes, we can do this now. Perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You want me to?
Yeah, so Lana will lead the way, and I'll interject.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, you can explain us a little bit what we see, which kind of artist, and perfectly.
All right, well, I'll start here with a South African artist, which I don't know how easy this is. Many of you may or may not know, Lisa Brice.
Amazing. I love her so much.
Extraordinary blue pieces. And it's a large, there's a discussion about the male gaze here. These women are in intimate situations, very often nude.
Amazing. So
and they're not, they're daring. Why are you looking at me? There's a whole different question. Look at her. I absolutely love her.
It's amazing. So beautiful. It's amazing, this contrast of blue and white, and then only with two colors to describe this emotion. It's insane.
Absolutely. Here's some more blue. This is a Conate. Mm-hmm. It's the cloaks from, the musicians in Mali. Mm-hmm. There's Harry. Over here is not an African artist, but you may know her. She's born in Nigeria, but raised in the U.S.
Yes.
This is Toyin Odetola.
Yes, so great.
And I love this because it's sort of a domestic wall. There's a puppy, and then it's got this incredible mask. Let me see if I can, with a hand very lightly tending towards this incredible African mask.
And is it a painting or is it charcoal?
It's a painting. It's part painting, part charcoal. It's sort of a combination. Yes. Yeah.
It's so insane. So nice.
I will take you out here. We'll go and look at some more African. If you give me while I walk from space to space. Mm-hmm. This is also a favorite. This is Romuald Hazume. We'll start from the bottom.
Romuald, yes.
So this is our own installation. The pieces we've come to us through the years, and we've filled up this wall. You can see, so this is an old canister, and those are ladies' discarded heels.
Yes.
So again, it's this whole idea, and Hazume says, I take from what the West dumps on us, I return, his philosophy is I return as art. Mm-hmm. The old feathers. I'm going to try and do this. Isn't that lovely with the earrings?
Yeah, this one, the earrings is amazing.
Yeah.
So nice.
Sorry, this is a little harder than I thought. I'm trying to go up the wall. There we go.
Oh,
there
so
we go.
nice.
All the way to the top. So Adenika keeps asking what makes an African artist. Would you like to answer that, Harry?
Well, what is an African artist? My answer, I don't think there's I'm not sure if there is an answer, but I will give you my feeling to what that is. For me, it's the experience, the African experience. Mm-hmm. So am I African? I consider I don't have the color of what one would traditionally think of as an African, but I was raised in Africa, and very much a big part of me is my experience on the continent. The same way it goes for the artists themselves. So a lot of the artists may originate from Africa. Mm-hmm. They may have been born, but they may have continued their education and the working life abroad. Yeah. But they carry with them the experience of Africa. The same goes for artists who many times are called the diaspora. Again, there's a link there, not because of color, because somebody's African American by color, but in their work, the artists that join our collection, because we have quite a few artists of the diaspora, what distinguishes and why would we want them to join our collection is because you see in the art the either socio-political or the religious aspect of that they've been affected by the fact that they were either born or they have things in their daily experience that come from Africa. So people like Sanford Biggers, for instance, he's not born or raised in Africa, but you see in his work a lot of that experience. Or Chris O'Philly, is he British or is he African? He very much in his work you see the fact where his roots are from, and roots are very important. In my book, I think it's roots and what affects your
spirit.
The spirit.
Yes. So your practice and how you get affected by.
Then it's a difficult question. I think it's a very difficult question, but clearly it's our choice and our, let's say, if we call it categorization, has to do with the experience itself. Yeah. So do they have in their work that experience? If yes, then if it touches somebody like Kendall Gears,
Yes.
he's a white South African. His work is very, very much the soul of Africa. Very much the soul of Africa.
Yeah.
And do you want to show?
Maybe we can go a little bit more.
So here is Pascal Martin Taillou. This was a piece at the Serpentine. It's called Octopus.
It's so cool. With his
there are 10 arms, even though he's called Octopus, and it's very much about the beating heart of the oil industry in Africa.
Yes.
That's how I feel. I mean, it's sort of the corruption, and people always talk about corruption in Africa, but I always answer and say, if there weren't people from the West or outside of Africa coming to corrupt, it wouldn't. It's a very double-sided. There's a whole different layer to corruption in Africa. There's people coming for oil in Africa from outside of Africa. Extraordinarily beautiful piece.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm going to take you. Forgive me. I've got to run up some stairs quickly.
No, take your time, please. We have time. We have all the time in the world.
Okay. Oh, the lights went off here. This is Meshach Gaba.
Mm-hmm. It's so cool.
And this is the only piece that is touched and we interact with. Mm-hmm. Every guest that comes here gets to play a game.
So fun.
The figurines are sort of the West, so the African. I can't see the American flag, mm-hmm. And then there you have the Pan-African players.
Yes.
So touching is allowed.
So cool.
We have another Meshach Gaba piece. This one is called Ghosts of Clots. It's quite beautiful.
Yes.
All the times are wrong because with the lockdown I can't buy batteries, but it's all African leaders, dictators or freedom fighters.
Yes, so cool.
As you can see. It's Mandela. The other one that's not real, which I find cute, is Shaka Zulu, who's the actor from the movie. Mm-hmm. They haven't got a real image. But everybody else is a photograph of, there's Kwame from Ghana, down here. Gaddafi.
And do you know what the artist wants to show with the time and the picture of the leaders? So Meshach is very much it focuses on the domestic. So this is a clock above a fireplace exists in every home. It's a very domestic scene, and so it's then what is seen, in a lot of domestic homes, it's a symbol of something above your fireplace, and these are the leaders, of those countries and those homes. Yes. This is above it's something that's, not only a clock, but a photograph of a leader that you will see in a lot of African homes. Yes. That's amazing.
So it's combined, it's quite beautiful. So let's see. Okay, I'll bring you over. This is one of Harry's favorite pieces. So
let me talk. This is, I don't know if you've heard of an artist called Taye Idahor. I think you should take it from here.
I'll take it from this side.
Taye is a Nigerian artist. Mm-hmm. And, so Taye started off her works was sketches and drawings. And all her work is of her hair. Very intricate drawings and paintings of hair. She started with on paper, and then and that's most of her works. When I met her and had and tried to find out more about the artist, and why is she focusing on hair. She actually was an artist that was wondering about why her hair was different to most other people in her school and in her environment. And through that research that she did about to discover herself, she found out there was a gap in her family. Apparently she had a question mark, and she found out that part of her was actually of Caucasian origins. Okay. And through her own personal journey, she almost became obsessed with her hair, and by research she found that she had that part Caucasian experience. Now she has continued with her hair, and this is a sculptural piece which, as you can see, is I guess her interpretation of.
So it's steel wood. It's actually steel wool.
Steel wool. Wow. Nice.
So this is one of the few. I don't know if she has other sculptural works like this. So it was quite unique, and we were following her work for quite a while, and this was very different. So we collect taille in depth. So we have some artists in the collection are, let's say, we want them to be represented because we feel that they say something that adds to the collection. And then others that we go further in depth. So Taye is one of the younger artists and that we go into depth with.
Okay, wow. Amazing. So beautiful.
Okay, so I'll go another flight of stairs maybe here. Here is I'll show you, this is a Kihinde.
Oh, Kihinde Wale. Wow. Beautiful one.
Beautiful.
I love the colors. So nice.
And I'll take you up the staircase. Hopefully, I guess it's a few Wangechi Mutus.
Yes, Wangechi Mutu.
I'll see if that's showing. Sorry.
Is it gouache?
Yes, it is. There's several. Let me show you. Going up the stairs.
So nice. I love it.
And sorry, I'm not reading the comments right now.
Don't need to. It's all right.
This one, which is lovely.
Oh yes, the man. Oh, the figure. Wow.
Yeah. So, I just need to turn on a light here. Sorry, I've got to turn the light on in this room. Here's another South African artist that I'm going to show you. He was at the Biennale 3 years ago. His name is Moha Modisike.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, with the light, it's a little...
Yes, he's a really amazing photographer. Beautiful.
And then over on this side, we have a Adam Pendleton. Again, with a G.
Yes.
And one of Harry's discoveries. Maybe he wants to talk about it. I think at 154. And we've acquired a second piece. Very much enjoying this artist.
Very cool.
I'll show you, I think, maybe 3 more pieces. Here's a small pencil drawing of Toyin.
Toyin. Oh, yeah. Wow. She has this incredible technique. It's so 3D with this kind of muscle stuff. They're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So, this is an artist from Botswana, and she's also based in Johannesburg and Toronto. I don't know if any of you, Pamela Fatsimo Sandstrom.
Yeah, Pamela Fatsimo, yes.
Yeah, this one is called The Bogeyman.
So beautiful. She's amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
I'll just go up close because some of the details on the wings is absolutely incredible.
So Pamela is one of the artists that we really believe that we want. We know that she covers a lot of the elements of what we look for in the collection, and we follow her diligently, and she would like to, let's say, grow with her, and we focus on her.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So.
I didn't know that. Okay. And then this is another African-American artist. You made Cara Walker?
Yes. Perfect.
This is a beautiful, I'm sorry, I have to step away. Beautiful piece.
Yes.
It was very interesting. I was looking up something about this piece, and I came across an article, I think it was from the 80s or the 90s, where the journalist walked in, and I guess this piece was in progress, and she said, "What is this?" And she said, "Well, it's a boy beating a horse." What I really like, which is quite powerful and sort of image of the South, is these ferry boats on the river system of Mississippi, or a lot of the southern states. And this is in pencil, actually. It's quite extraordinary. The detail here.
And the black paper, is it cut out or what is it?
It's cut out, yes, I can go close. It's sort of reminiscent of your German fairy tales, isn't it?
Yeah.
That art, which for right now the name escapes me.
So
the little boys' faces. And then I'll show you one last piece. I don't know, I might need to step up 1 second. I have to take my shoes off. Mm-hmm. So this is a South African artist that we absolutely love, and it's the only male nude that's been allowed in the house.
Oh, yes. So beautiful.
This is Billy Zangewe.
Billy Zangewe, yeah.
Yeah.
Super hard to get. It's insane.
This piece is called, it has a wonderful name, Afternoon Delight.
Okay, wow.
Yes. And Billy, typical of very autobiographical pieces. So you see pieces when she's single, you see her as she becomes a mother. Mm-hmm. You see there's a beautiful piece with her going on her first date in a black slip dress. There's scenes with her in the shower with her lover, domestic scenes lying in the bath watching Game of Thrones. This is all silk. So this is silk tapestry, if I may go up close.
Yes, insane. And how she creates these kind of 3D shapes through only 2, 3, 4 colors. It's insane.
Incredible, yes.
Superb.
So, yeah, insane. That's a beautiful piece.
Insane. Very, very nice.
Billy's another artist that we follow in depth and we've supported. We've actually also, a part of our contribution giving back is supporting museums, and we have donated a piece to the Tate. One of Billy's pieces we've donated.
Wow.
The Tate. I mean, we think she's an amazing artist.
Oh, she's superb. She's really, her work's amazing. And very hard to get. I was looking for a long time, so I have to say.
Actually, she doesn't create a lot of work also. You know, she's an artist that is very to create her work, so I know what you mean.
We're going to go back down.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Yeah, she doesn't have any assistants in her studio, so everything is, her own hand. Oh,
yes.
I'll show you one here. This is Elias Simi, another African artist. Ethiopia. Sorry, Harry was just saying. And so these are from the market in Bamako. It's sort of discarded boards from computers.
Yes.
So it makes this sort of geographical. I'm trying to step away from it. Let me see. Sorry, it's not always easy. Sort of a Google Map representation of a. Okay.
I think you should do Lauren Halsey as well.
Yes. So, okay, we'll do another one.
Yeah, it's insane. You have such a huge collection. It's like a huge journey.
All right, so this piece is a Lauren Halsey. Lauren Halsey is a young African-American artist from South LA. Let me see here. Wait, let me get far away. So this piece is huge. It's couple meters high. It weighs about 280 kilograms. It's made from cement. And then it's got these incredible dioramas of life as it pertains to her growing up in LA, in South LA. So apparently she had an aunt that would, these little gifts that you get, I guess, either from McDonald's or in little Easter eggs, and she would create these environs of where one day, when she had money, she would go to a tropical island, let's say, or she would go to Egypt. And Lauren leaves these pieces around and lets them get dusty, and some of them even have hair stuck in them, and then she creates these new dioramas. Yeah. And also to the African experience, you'll see there's a lot of reference to Egypt, because, I think a lot of the African American community especially says we don't have a mythology, we don't have a legend. But you do. You have Egypt. I mean, okay, Cleopatra came and she was an Egyptian pharaoh. What's the female word? I just forgot. Pharaoh. She was a Greek pharaoh, but before that, there were African pharaohs. So
you mean Cleopatra?
here's a head of Nefertiti, you can see. So there are legends. And then there's the legends of music. Sorry, I'm trying to do this. It's not easy.
Yes.
Of LA culture, a lot of the hair and Afrofuturism, Afrocobra.
Super nice.
So I don't know how good the light is. And it's interesting because she originally worked on 2D until her computer broke, and she couldn't get a new one, and she was starting to go to 3D, and this was created. I don't want to touch it, but this extraordinary surface was created with her friends with cement, and she started to make these gorgeous sculptures. So we can say thank you for her computer breaking, although I think it was quite she had a show that we saw in LA Freeze right now, which was beautiful. It was all boxes, and it had all the signs of the the local area, and hair braiding, shaving, barbers, different styles of food. It was this incredible maze of boxes, and it's also about the disappearing culture of South LA and to a certain extent gentrification. But there we go. I'll step away from it again. Big piece.
So cool. So amazing.
That's it.
And it's really nice.
So I don't know if I'll maybe hand over to Harry again.
Okay. So that, I hope perhaps this showing you around some of the pieces that are in the collection will facilitate, our
I do want to say something that we do a rehang every year, and I see Moffat's on, and I want to say hi to Moffat because we had a beautiful piece of his, and we love his work very much.
He's amazing. He has incredible pieces. Moffat, he was.
No, we're having this discussion, Oliver, because in this whole global situation with the COVID, people are, was sort of, within the walls, mostly within the walls of your home. Yeah. And it's a nice way to share the passion of art for those who, obviously you have it, and thank you for inviting us.
It's a great idea, Oliver.
Thank you so much for sharing this. It's insane that you show this to all the interest out there, and that you give us the chance to take part of this, because it's absolutely a collection of museum quality, and thank you so much for sharing it.
No, thank you. Actually, we were funnily enough, in 2 weeks' time, we were supposed to be inaugurating a show at on the Greek Contemporary Art Museum.
Yes.
Called EMST, E-M-S-T. It's a museum that only opened after an interesting history of it. It just opened because of the new government that we have in Greece. It managed to set itself up and open only a few months ago. And and we were supposed to have the first visiting show.
Yes.
And it's supposed to open on May 8th. Obviously now it's put on hold, but it was our way to share our passion with others. So clearly we're not going to have an opening on May 8th.
But I hope it's very soon after.
Fingers crossed. Maybe September.
We depend on the scientists, the doctors, and what the government tells us. But so, we're happy to be here and to be sharing what we have in our home with your friends.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this chance. And since you have this great collection, what is your next step? What is your next target for your collection? How do you want to see it evolve? Do you collect them more in depth, or do you rather find some new artists?
I think it's a process that will continue. I mean, we had it was quite. I would say we collected quite strongly the last few years to create a core of collection. So we have a combination of reference artists, which are the older artists, and the contemporaries. And I think that will continue. I think now we'll probably go more in depth with artists that we feel more comfortable with. And my personal wish would be to continue discovering young talent, 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 discovering young talent.
Yeah.
I think it was becoming a little bit difficult in the last couple of years, where the art market, I thought, was not necessarily in its healthiest state, in the sense that it almost became a fad. The people were saying it's.
There were boxes that had to be ticked.
There were boxes, and suddenly, if you were African or of a different gender or of a different sexual preference, or
yes.
you suddenly ticked some box.
Tick some box of the market. I know what you mean.
I don't think is a natural. It's more. It's not something that represents us. Yeah. So perhaps always crises bring. I think bring sort of balance things and bring them back to some sort of a normalcy or a recent normalcy. So I'm hoping that the hype will. No, it's good and bad. The hype is good and bad. I mean, it's good for African artists. I know that African artists want to make, they want to break through into mainstream. I understand that. Yeah. But sometimes there are things that are done, I think, at the wrong pace. And I think it all has to do with the pace.
Yes, to slow down a little bit, to speed up. Not speed up, it's like auction records were breaking up like hell in first auction, like suddenly exploding prices. I think it has to go more constantly, more softly, and rather stabilize the market itself.
We're very happy to see that there's a lot more museums on the continent, on Africa. There's a lot more curators searching and establishing what is contemporary art on the continent. And I think those two are very, very positive.
Yes.
Very positive. And I think those are more important than having, this hype in the secondary markets. So I think the fact that we do have all these curators and the galleries. So now it's not only South Africa that has galleries, but you see that happening in East Africa, in West Africa. You see a lot more depth to the market. Plus, of course, the galleries that focus on African art let's say in the West, in the UK or in the US. I think those are positive. They're very positive.
But I think also there's a joy. There's an organic joy that we still want to maintain. I mean, we as we continue with our collecting, and that's the most important thing. That's still when you see a piece, you walk into a space and you see a piece, and the hair stands up on your arms. I mean, there's nothing more than that.
It's amazing, most amazing feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's still one of the primary, I think.
Yes.
Alongside intellectual or.
Yeah. Before I want to hand over to the community to ask some questions, I see already my last questions raised by Adenike. What kind of question can you give to young collectors like me or people who wants to start a collection? Some very important advice how to start from your experience.
I think just be true to yourself. I mean, it's a very personal journey. And, a lot of people like to, we have to enjoy the vision of each individual. We may agree or not agree with somebody. I mean, there's a lot of collectors that I may, share the same passion or don't see what they see or, or enjoy but it's irrelevant. I think the most important thing, it's a collection. I think a collection by definition has to represent the vision of the collector.
Yes.
And I think we have to all be open-minded about that. The more that's done on African art, the better it is, because I really believe it. We really believe in that particular genre. But advice, just go with your heart. I mean, just focus. Don't get carried. I think don't get carried away with the hype.
Yeah.
The hype can, blow up in your face. If you're doing it for the right reasons, if you're a true collector and you're not doing it for, if you're doing it for financial reasons, is one direction. If you're doing it as a collection for yourself, just go with your heart.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you so much for this advice. Okay, now open discussion for everyone who wants to raise some questions. And we already see here one. any Greek artist that has evolved into an African artist by the definition stated by this? Wow, what is this kind of question? Okay, I think we will skip this. This was too. What are the best exhibitions you have recently?
Actually, if I may, there's a couple of Greek artists, but they're more in South Africa. Nobody that is in our collection, but I don't think they can evolve into becoming African artists. but there are Africans of Greek origin, like Penisiopis, who's a quite famous artist. Yes. She's not in our collection. She's not in our focus, but she's a very, very good artist. Yes. So Penisiopis from South Africa is a Greek and she's a very important artist on the continent. Mm-hmm.
Great. Have you ever shown your collection in a gallery or museum before, or like before your show, which is now coming up?
No.
So this would be your first show?
This would be Ubuntu would be the first. Mm-hmm. It's going to be actually the collection, but curated not by us. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is, because obviously we are biased, and we wouldn't know what to put in the show. We love every piece that we have. So what we've done is we've invited 5 people to curate 5 rooms. Mm-hmm. So we've invited people from different backgrounds. So we have a museum director. We have
an artist.
I'm not sure I should say the names yet. It's but we have an artist who is Rashid Johnson, who's African American. We have Osei Bonsu from the Tate, who will curate a room. Mm-hmm. We have Burkhard Warnhold, who's a collector from Germany, to curate a room. We have Elvira Diangani Ose, who you may know, who's the director of the showroom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have an art advisor who's Emily Tsingu, who also advises us on art. And so there's 5 rooms curated by 5 people who will curate and show what they see in our collection, not what we see. We know what we see, but we want other people to draw from it and make a story, make their own story of what they see in our collection.
I think for them
it'll be very interesting. It'll be hopefully interactive, and it'll be a bit of out of the box, and hopefully sooner rather than later we'll
come alive. Also, I think they had, like, for them it's like happiness to take the most exciting pieces from your collection and put them in a nice context together. Here's another great question. What from Arne? What African country is the most interesting from your point of view, and why?
Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Yes, sure. We can move up. What African country is the most interesting from your point of view, and why?
Okay.
Well, we love going to, of course, to South Africa and Ghana, which South Africa and Nigeria. Sorry. That goes without saying. Absolutely look forward to those trips and do a couple of them a year. I have to say, in addition to that, 2 years ago, we did a trip to Ghana, and we were in Accra and Kumasi, and it was mind-blowing. I mean, that trip still resonates with me. And actually, recently, about a week ago, I was looking at my photographs from that trip.
Oh, wow.
The people and the atmosphere and the art. And we visited some established artists, and then just went out to the university in Kumasi and just met young art students, working in very basic rooms without doors and windows. And it was, it has stayed with me. I don't know if you feel the same. Just absolutely fell in love with Ghana and the people.
Wow.
And the art.
Yeah, I think Ghana, to also add, I mean, as far as countries, I mean, the countries that have a lot more vibrant contemporary art scene seem to be, besides South Africa, which is the only one that really has an established environment, and South Africa. I think that's the only one that you can say is quite established. Otherwise, Nigeria, Ghana, Morocco now, Zimbabwe and Botswana have a vibrant scene. Angola has, Ethiopia has a very strong scene. And then, of course, there's a lot of interest from Western galleries who represent a lot of African artists. Yeah. Yes. So it's, there's a lot more academic background and a lot more happening to document what is happening on the continent. Clearly.
Yeah. Exactly. Here is some more question. What is the best exhibition you have seen recently? Can you recommend something?
Well, I mean, it feels like we've been here 7 weeks, feels like we've been in for a long time, but I would have to go back to the LA Freeze trip, which was our last art trip. I mean, the Lauren Halsey that I mentioned earlier on.
Yes.
And we also went across the road to a Hank Willis Thomas show that was really good. But we did come back across the road and go back to the Lauren Halsey to have a look at it a second time, which was at Kodansky. Kodansky. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Very nice one. Okay. Great. Here's an interesting question, because you mentioned it earlier. Do you ever see the art you buy as an investment, or you rather collect for passion?
I think the latter. So clearly it's passion. Mm-hmm. When the numbers, of course, some artists, you have to take into consideration, of course, the price tag, of course. Yes. And I think that was part of when I mentioned earlier, the hype. Mm-hmm. I don't want to take away. I mean, hype is good for the artist. So I don't want to, I don't want to be misconstrued that, hype is good in the sense that a lot of artists benefit out of the focus that goes onto this particular art. The problem is when you get very young artists with very little exposure, and suddenly the prices, for one reason or another, become extreme. I think that's not good for the artists, because it's very difficult to justify for you have exceptions, you have the Basquiats of this world, but it can only be 1, 2, 3, 4 Basquiats in a generation, right? You can't have more. So it feels like sometimes when there's a hype, just because you're Black or African or gay or something, those are not good reasons. I mean, the art has to be good, and those elements should not matter.
Yeah.
And I think we fell into that trap a little bit, where the hype didn't help. So going back to your question, does the value? No, I will. So if I think there's an artist that will do very well in the future but doesn't fit the collection, I will not buy it just because I believe that the value will go up. No, that I will not do.
Yeah.
But we are committed to the art that we follow, and as long as we see that we like to grow with the artists themselves.
Yeah. I think like what you mentioned as well, I think sometimes it's rather important, or for me, it's not a point of view that to know whether the artist is Black or gay or whatever, like you said, if the quality of the work flashes you and is mind-blowing, I focus on this, and because then somehow the story around is a supporter maybe, or is not as important as the quality of the work. Is always my opinion. Of course, the quality is always subjective, but I rather see like if the work flashes me, then the rest is not so important to me than the work itself.
Yes.
So
I'm very many times I'm perplexed by seeing statistics. So they say, there's such a percentage of women artists, or to be honest, I've never sat down to look at what I collect and what I like, and to say, okay, such a percentage is women, such a percentage is men.
Yes.
And I'm to be honest, I get very surprised, by that people actually sit down and think about that. I mean, I don't do it.
Yeah,
but I see even articles being done about, does that museum,
institutions
but what at the end of the day, what for institutions, perhaps they have to make a report and report the statistics. Yes. But it still surprises. It still surprises that, because in our collection, if you ask me now, what is the ratio of women versus men, I couldn't tell you, because in our collection, because I've never thought about it. I mean, I think about it every time I see an article, but it's not something that is conscious to balance things out. I mean, we want art that touches us and art that we want and we think that fills and completes the story that we want to say.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, perfect.
I might break this to Harry now. I think we have lots of ladies.
I saw a lot of ladies too. And all the ladies' works, they were amazing. Okay, great. We have some more questions by Nuko. In your opinion, what is the role of art today in a global world? Is there a role of art?
You want me to take that?
That's a pretty tough question.
I think especially with the African art, I think we see, Greece is quite a homogenous society. So we see the wonderful reactions that people have to work when they come in the house and the questions they ask.
Yeah.
So they ask, why the broken heels? That's garbage. Or, not that they're, they don't mean it in it's questions asked with very good, with they want to understand. So I love to see the reaction of people to pieces. They ask about, Lauren Halsey and why is this cloak made from this fabric and why is that, so why is this piece all in blue? Yeah. And so when you have people asking questions, you create a dialogue, and there's, that's so special. And we had a piece here that was a tower of an African-American artist called Shanique Smith. Mm-hmm. And it was... we had to literally, I was at some point thinking to put crying tape around it because it was a piece that evoked such emotion. It was a tower of clothing, of old clothing. And people would try and go and touch it and say, my grandmother used to wear a scarf like this. I have pajamas like this. This looks like the fabric from my grandpa's jacket. And it evoked such emotion in people. I mean, we had a New Year's Eve party and we actually took it out because we were concerned for this piece's safety. But having said that, how wonderful. It evokes, this is an artist from another continent evoking such emotion in a home in Greece.
Yes,
and what's more powerful than that?
Yes, but this is cool. This is great. Then when you get into the dialogue and talk about it, and then the people get excited, even some people who are not interested in art. I had this as well, like suddenly, why this is art, or why he's using this, and why she's painting like this, or something like this. And then you get into the dialogue, and the people get interested in it, because some of them maybe have never had any contact with art. Most
Absolutely.
Of mine. So.
And it brings up another interesting question. There's a lot of the questions is, well, why don't you have any old wooden masks? Or why don't you have any old wooden statues?
Yes.
And that brings up this whole other discussion about how African art should be allowed to evolve. Should be allowed to evolve without, a lot of African art of statues and masks today are made for tourists.
Yes.
Are they art? You can have that discussion. And so, I think art is very important. For that discussion.
Perfect, great. Okay, we have some.
I see a question about Lana. What can you say about the master? I can't really. It's.
Yes, beautiful.
What can you say about the legend? Yeah.
Where was it? I'm looking. Where?
What's the question about Lana? What do I think? What can I say about Lana? It's not much I can say, right? Is there?
Easy. It's very easy. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the godfather of all American African artists. Sorry.
Yeah.
And okay, we have this.
Is there growing interest for African contemporary art in Athens? Well, I hope so. We were invited to show. I think EMS wants, if we read it correctly, EMS wants to do something that is out of the box, something, a new proposition, a new idea. So hopefully people, we'll do our best. We're planning for something exciting. I mean, we're taking it very seriously. We're setting up the space we're allocated. We're trying to do it in a way that will, work well with the art that has been chosen by the 5 curators. Hopefully people will appreciate what we do. I mean, obviously...
But also be educational in addition to the aesthetic experience. It'll be an education, hopefully, as well.
The openness. We were very open about this. I mean, clearly this is not for everybody.
Yeah.
But we'll be very open. As I said, we're not part of the curatorial. We're not one of the 5 curators because we didn't want that. We want other people who are independent of us to tell their story of what they see in our collection. Hopefully people will like it. I mean, we'll welcome them. We'll show them in the best possible way. We'll have some educational elements, and hopefully it will. Hopefully we'll add something to the cultural scene of Athens.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. Okay, here's a very typical question, which is mostly coming in these times. So how do you see, will the pandemic scenario now affect the future of collecting? For example, like online viewing rooms. How do you react to this? Because unfortunately, no one is allowed now currently to travel.
Yeah. I think this is all new to all of us, right? I mean, the pandemic is new to all of us.
Yes.
Online buying. Look, if it's an artist, I can speak for ourselves. I mean, I don't know if I can speak for other collectors, but if it's an artist that to at least we can choose from, if you see a slide or a photograph, perhaps you can, I look at the artist behind you. I mean, it's an artist who I know the work, and if I look at it, I can say, I like the piece. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yes.
And I can, I don't need to see it in person because I know the artist. So I can see it and I can say, yes, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful piece.
Yes.
Now, if I didn't know the artist, I'd probably want to say, it looks beautiful, but I'd like to see it in person.
Yes.
So, if they show me an artist if they show me Lisa Brice on a photograph, I can say, yes, I like it, and I can make it if I want to buy. If that's maybe I'm not getting the question right. But if it's a new artist, it's probably harder. I mean, with slides and photographs, if you don't see the actual piece of art, I think it's harder if you don't know the artist.
Yeah. We have 1 more minute. Instagram is counting down. If you want to, we can continue and put up a new session. Up to you. If there are some more questions.
No, we're very open. If there's interest, we're happy to.
Okay. It's a pity that Instagram is always kicking the people out after 1 hour. It's really a pity, but I will post it on my stories, and then I will reopen a new session right after, and everyone who has some more questions can join again. Is that okay for everyone in the community? Great. Okay, 16 seconds, and then see you in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Perfect. Then we are back. Okay. Yes. Second hour. Some last more questions. from the community to this great collectors and great collection. Do we have some more? Okay, everyone is coming back. Moffat is there. Here we go. Moffat is in.
We had Moffat here in our house actually in the previous hang.
He's amazing. His work is stunning.
Yeah.
He's getting now even bigger and bigger. With Nicodem Gallery, he's doing these 7.5 meters sizes. It's amazing.
Oh, wow.
I bought him like 2017, so it was just in a 2 meter size, very, very small in comparison to today. Okay, do we have some more questions from the community? Waiting a little bit.
Talking again about the interest in art, we had a Moffat piece up here that almost looked like an eye. It was round eye and then bits that hung down. And of course, the tradition in Greece that I'm sure you're all aware of is the evil eye.
The eye, yes.
That struck a chord with a lot of Greek people, that this artist from another continent, sort of was using the eye in the art.
The evil eye.
Evil eye, yeah.
Stuck. Oh, we don't have any more questions. Where are the questions?
We lost you for a second.
Okay.
People are falling asleep, I think. They have to be falling asleep because they're not allowed to go and party. So they have to be falling asleep.
Then I have another question. Do you have any regrets, or if you would restart your collection, would you do something differently?
Oliver, we restarted by focusing on this particular, African and the diaspora. So I think that was the restart for now. And
yes.
So that was the restart.
Several years ago.
Yeah, it's quite a few years, but right now, mistakes. Oh yeah, of course, mistakes. Loads of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Mistake regrettable, none. I can't say. I mean, it's a journey. The ones that I regret, I would say, are the things that I didn't sleep over. Sometimes I didn't sleep over a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say sleeping over a decision is not a wrong thing. Otherwise, no regrets. Okay. Made mistakes, but I don't
see them as regrets or mistakes is part of the journey, part of it. Yeah. So you have, let's say, you find some it belongs to the collecting as well, and
I think yes, so yeah,
absolutely. Here was a question.
Sorry.
Oh, he has a great story.
Well,
yes.
It's not a regret, though. I mean, it's a funny story.
It's funny. It was good for the artist.
I have a couple of stories. One of the stories was actually Chrysophili.
Yes.
Who I bought 2 pieces of Chrysophili before anybody knew of him.
Perfect.
So I'm trying to remember when this was. Well, this was probably in the early 90s.
Mm.
And I remember I bought 2 pieces. I will not tell you the prices I paid for, which was nothing. And then at the time, there was a mayor in New York. There was a show in New York at the Brooklyn Museum. Mm-hmm. And the mayor at the time thought it offensive that an artist was using the image of the Madonna, of the Virgin Mary, with elephant dung. So now, for everybody, Chrysophili is considered an established artist, he's a master, yes. And nobody would think that he's offensive in any sense. No. At the time, though, there was a mayor, now he's on the channels, but he's Mayor Giuliani. And he came out and he said, this is an insult, he's using the Madonna, he's using elephant dung.
Yes.
And this is sacrilege and disgusting, and don't go to visit the show. And what happens the next day? Everybody went to see the show. So I had three months before the show, I bought 2 pieces. Mayor Giuliani made that statement. Millions of people or thousands of people were lining up to see him. And so I thought that was amusing.
Yes, but it's a great feeling as a collector as well.
And the other one is I walked into a gallery a couple of years back, and I saw an artist who I didn't know, and I loved the piece. A really beautiful piece. And I said, I want it. In the sense that, I fell in love with it, and I said, can I acquire it? And they said yes. So I left the gallery, what a beautiful piece, etc. They called me back and they said, at the end of the day, and they said, I knew the gallery said, by the way, a museum wants the piece. Okay. Do you mind making room for it? And and then the question was, which museum? And it was the Tate. And I said, of course, and I don't mind for the Tate, I'll make room. And they promised me I'll get a piece
from the next collection.
Afterwards. Yes, for the next show. Yes. The artist was Njitaka Kunyili Crosby. Oh, well, I don't know if you followed the work. Of course, I never got a chance again because she just, only museums get her work, and she's an amazing artist, and absolutely. I thought that was amusing. At least it was the Tate with which we're involved, and we're part of the committee, or one of the acquisition committee, the African Acquisition Committee, and it was for good.
What an insane story! Yes, she's absolutely mind-blowing, her works. Okay, now we get some more questions here. I saw one. Where's where? Yeah, which kind of artist are you keeping an eye on? Is by Adenike. If you want to say some names.
I can do one right now.
No, I can't think of somebody. We the artists that we follow in depth, we'll continue following in depth.
Yes.
And always looking for new talents. Yes. It's,
yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Here's another good thing by Nuko. Emerging artists is a tricky thing. How are you able to identify the potential?
Well, that's the biggest risk, I guess, isn't it? And that's where, that's where taste comes into, whether it touch your personal parts. So we usually will make small commitments when it's younger artists, and then follow through with them. And follow them in every step of the way. Billy Zangewa is an example. We've been following Billy Zangewa for a long time, and Pamela Fatsimo Sundstrom.
Yeah.
And as they grow, we like to follow.
Like them in them.
I think we bought art of hers when her first show, which was in Lagos, and followed on when she moved on to a UK-based gallery, and on and on. So there's risks involved. We understand the risks, but there's more pleasure from finding young emerging artists when they make it than, it's easy to buy an artist who's established. It's mostly a financial transaction. Going back to the question about Ella Natsui, there's nothing, I don't think we bring anything to the table by buying an Ella Natsui besides filling a gap in the collection. But Ella Natsui is Ella Natsui.
Yeah.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Right? So the question is, what can we do for younger artists? Can we buy artists and maybe in our way help them? Is there a way to join a collection, or a museum collection, or another collection? That's more important than the established artists.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So many. Do we have some more questions? A lot of people joining, but no questions. Getting all tired in the community. But they're all mind-blowing by your collection. Wait a second. A lot of greets to you. How do I know we already had this with other Greek collectors. what are your favorites in your collection? Do you have some favorites?
Actually, we're debating. I knew this question was going to come up. So somebody asked me today. Somebody asked, "What would you do if you had one piece that you have to take?"
Yes.
So I said, "Can I bolt all of them together and say they're one piece and take all of them?" No, it's a tough question. So
Yes.
no favorite.
I think we live with them all for a year or more, and they become, they become a part of you, and you're excited for the new installation, but you're very, very sad to see the ones that you've lived with for a year or more leaving. So, and there's a reason that they're here as well.
I think let's bring your audience to Athens sooner rather than later when we have a show, and come and see our collection. We'd love to share. That's a way of sharing.
Yes.
Another way of sharing is we give a lot of loans to museums.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we're asked about, it's the least we can do is we loan our pieces.
Yes.
And hopefully as we progress, we'll find more ways to share that, share with others who have the passion. Hopefully one day we'll do something on the continent, something important on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is the ultimate goal, is to do a lot more there rather than this side of the water.
Okay. Here was a great question. There's a trend where collectors create foundations. Is that the future for your collection, or what do you see in the future for your collection?
We don't have foundation. No, there's no foundation involved in the sense that there's a collection. No, a foundation, I think, is many times it's like a structure. So
yeah,
haven't thought about.
Well, we have thought about. We want to do something, but it hasn't clicked. And much like our collecting, which is organic and I think honest, and it will know it. It'll click to us. It'll come to us. When the time is right. So we trust it a lot. I think
the support we do, which is foundation. Let's say foundation-like work, is that we support museums. We support museums to acquire artists. Mm-hmm. So if museums want to acquire and add to the collection artists relevant to what we've donated to museums artists like Billy Zangewa, like Lisa Brice, Pascal Martin Taillou. Those are artists that we have. Michael Armitage.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah,
we've actually donated 2 pieces of Michael Armitage, one to the National Scottish Galleries and one to the Tate. So,
oh, wow.
I forgot to. So Michael is somebody we followed from very early on. We think he's an amazing artist.
Absolutely.
So that's our way. So we don't have a foundation per se, but these are actions that, let's say, perhaps would have been of a foundation-like structure. So going forward, I think we want to help with helping curators work more on this particular field and focus. And the way to do it, we're working on ways to find ways to support curators to go on the continent and search.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, great. Do you have some last more questions? It's getting late.
Yeah.
What is your view on? Okay, we had this. What is your view on gallery lists or waiting lists? What is your take on this? It's a typical question I always ask. But what is your take on this?
Yeah.
I guess it's unavoidable. If there's a good artist, people want them, and we don't get upset about them anymore. I mean, in the beginning, I can see why people get upset, but I guess galleries have to prioritize, and it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
They have to prioritize, and I guess depending on your pecking order, nowadays, especially we go to high, people will give priority to museums and then to preferred collectors, and then, that's unavoidable.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think the questions, they're a little bit now repeating. Thank you so much for this talk, for showing your great collection. However, I would love to maybe have in a few weeks, maybe in a second talk, if you would be interested, how it will change with this scene. I'm always asking all my interview partners how everything will change. If you're interested, I would be very happy. And let's see how everything will change. Thank you so much again for your time, for your experience, giving us some advice, especially for me as a young collector. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Oliver, very much for inviting us.
Thanks for creating this forum as well.
And to everybody who is putting up with us at this time of the evening.
Thank you so much. Great. Okay, everyone take care. Have a great evening, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.